Hey, Courtney, have you tried a Menage a Trois?
I mean, I've tried the wine Menage a Trois. Is that what you're talking about?
I didn't know it was a wine. That's not what I'm talking about.
Hello, and welcome to Moms for Book Liberty.
The podcast where a couple of moms fight back against groups trying to control what our kids can read.
With each episode focusing on a specific book that has found itself on the chopping block of censorship. So I think I know what you're talking about, Jennifer, but before we get to that, because that is the main story of today's episode, which is a no book episode. So no book this episode.
There's too much to talk about today that we didn't have time to incorporate a book.
Too much drama.
Yes.
And drama is not even the best word for it. It's just hypocrisy. Authoritarianism is a good word for it. Speaking of which, Ron DeSantis is literally arguing that school libraries are for government messaging.
That's giving a little bit of indoctrination, right?
Yeah, it's, I think there's a quote that said public school libraries are a forum for government speech, not a forum for free expression, according to a legal brief about what is allowed in our libraries. And so that's what he's going after.
Oh, yeah.
And we've seen that. We knew that was what was happening the whole time.
And he's going to get us involved in another lawsuit because we're not going to let that go.
Yeah. Because up until now, for all of our listeners out there who don't, read the news, which I don't blame you because, first of all, reading a bill is really boring. Second of all, it's just fucking depressing.
It is.
But, we're here to catch you up on all that really boring and depressing stuff in a hopefully not as boring and more exciting way.
And hopefully giving you resources to change that shit so it's not as depressing next time.
Yeah, to fight back. And so basically, there's the Don't Say Gay law. And so that restricts or prevents any sort of, quote, instruction on gender identity and sexual orientation in grades K through 3, at least.
8 now.
Oh, yeah, K through 8 now. And so, but that still didn't, it didn't take away the books in the library.
Right, because it's specifically just for
instruction.
Yes.
And so that's what we're seeing is going to happen next. And that's scary.
Very.
Scarier. I mean, everything is scary, but this is just getting scarier every day.
And they're already trying to use HB 1069, which is
Don't Say Gay
bill, to get books out of the library, but that's just because they don't understand the fucking law.
Yeah.
And so they sit up there and they quote, 1069 as a reason.
Mm-hmm. But that just says instruction.
Right.
So they're like, oh shit.
In classrooms.
Yeah, now we have to, pass this other bill so that it can be illegal. And the books we're talking about, guys, are not books like Genderqueer by Maya Kobabe, which I love that book. And we covered that in one of our earlier episodes. And it was very informative, very evidence-based, very scientific, very beautifully written. But that's not the books we're talking about. We're talking about books like And Tango Makes Three.
Yeah.
Penguins in love.
Penguins that never have sex.
Right. And also, it was a true penguin story.
Right.
It was like a real historical account of 2 penguins in a zoo in New York. And those are the kinds of books that Ron DeSantis and his cronies are trying to, remove from libraries and replace with what? What was that book you were telling me about?
Yeah, well, they're trying to add a book to one of the libraries now about heaven and whether it's real, but in a factual way. Yeah, supposedly evidence-based.
A supposed,
right. I'm interested to read it. Mm-hmm. I want to check it out and see what it says, but there is no evidence that heaven and hell are real.
So they're taking out And Tango Makes Three.
Religion is faith-based.
With a book that claims there's evidence for heaven being real.
Right.
Got it. That's the
These 2 penguins actually existed. People went and visited them. You saw them.
Yeah. Well, I saw their family members because I think they.
Oh, they might have not been there. Yeah.
That book was written a while ago. But
they existed. We know that they were there. Mm-hmm. This actually happened. They adopted another penguin and made a family.
Yeah.
That happened.
A happy family.
Heaven and hell, I guess we'll find out when we're no longer here.
Right.
But until then, it's faith-based.
A mystery.
a mystery.
As
Exactly.
it should be. But, you know, and it's not just libraries that, you know, is on our radar right now. It's the textbook situation.
Yes.
So, you know, I actually have, you know, friends that are teachers in my district that I live in, and they're saying, a lot of them are saying that they have been teaching without textbooks since August.
Oh, that's nice.
It's December right now.
Yeah.
And first of all, you know, you hear these stories of like kids who don't have permanent teachers. Like they have a temporary teacher.
My daughter last year
Yeah.
did not have a math teacher. She was doing Khan Academy the whole time.
Mm-hmm. Because no one wants to be a teacher.
So no teacher and no textbooks.
Yeah.
Great.
No
what could go wrong?
Why would you want to be a teacher when, you know, there aren't even textbooks that you're allowed to teach from because they might have social emotional learning practices in them. Like, oh no, they might teach you how to not be accidentally like discriminatory towards your students, which we've all been there.
Right.
And, you know, that is what the Stop Woke Act says. Hold on, let me pull it up real quick so I can read it word for word. Okay, it says that no person is inherently racist, sexist, or oppressive, whether consciously or unconsciously, solely by virtue of his or her race or sex. So the word that I have a problem with in that sentence is unconsciously. So the Stop Woke Act is basically saying that there's no such thing as unconscious racism or like unconscious discrimination, which I would have to argue against.
We've all been guilty of doing that.
Yeah.
Like I've caught myself afterwards like, ooh, I didn't realize I was doing that. But now that I know better, I can look back and say,
exactly,
I did that.
Yeah, it's called acknowledging your biases. You know, and it's completely normal it's human nature to have biases.
Right.
And so I have a problem, you know, with that language, and basically it's creating these textbooks that make it near impossible for teachers to, you know, influence these students in positive ways so that they're like, you know, actually contributing, caring, empathetic members of society. Like all we're doing is saying, okay, you can only learn, you know, algebra or Spanish or history, but you can't be a better person. We're not going to allow teachers to influence you in a positive way. It's against the law. And
yeah, why don't we want that?
I don't know, because so my friend who works, you know, in the district was showing me these screenshots of the process that they're taking to approve these textbooks, okay? And some of these things are just ridiculous. It says, make sure, you know, do the instructional materials, omit social justice. Do the instructional materials, omit social emotional learning languages, or culturally responsive teaching. So for all of you listening out there, an example of a social emotional learning strategy could be as simple as starting the day with a student check-in, because who knows what that student is really going through at home. So a lot of teachers I've seen, and I've done this myself as a teacher, will, you know, have something for the students to work on before the bell rings. And, you know, they'll ask a question like, what was your favorite part of the week so far?
Right.
Or, you know, oh, my son's teacher does this. Like, what's your good thing for today? And what's your bad thing for today?
Okay.
And that gives the teacher an idea of what's going on in that kid's life.
Right. And to know, like, if they respond a certain way, like behave bad, maybe there's a reason behind it.
Yeah.
Give them a little grace.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't want to do that?
Yes. And, well, they want, so here's my problem.
They want robots.
Yes. They want to get rid of that completely, but they're starting with getting rid of it in textbooks. And here's my problem. Teachers are so busy. They have so much on their plates. Yeah. They oftentimes, and I did this too, relied on the textbook to tell them what to do. And so good textbooks will have like little things off, you know, written off to the sides of the text that'll say like, try this strategy to, you know, get a better idea of what your students are experiencing.
Yeah.
And, you know, whatever. Like, here's a social emotional strategy. Well, those are now illegal in Florida. And that makes it really complicated for textbook companies who serve more than just Florida.
Right.
Who serve other states that actually see the value in things like social emotional learning and culturally responsive teaching, the other CRT, right?
Oh my God.
But the other, you know, culturally responsive teaching is as innocent as having students work in groups. Like, that's an example of culturally responsive teaching. Or it's another example of culturally responsive teaching is something called like a share around, right? And so this is a very simple protocol that teachers will use as opposed to calling on the same student over and over and over again. Or like the same kid that's always raising their hand, like Hermione Granger and Harry Potter. Like they always say, yes, Miss Granger. And I'm like, that's not culturally responsive teaching.
Right.
So if the professors at Hogwarts were to engage in culturally responsive teaching, all they would have to do is they would say, okay, class, now we're going to do a share around. What is one word that stood out to you in this text? Or what is one thing that you learned during this science experiment? And they would go around and they would, elicit a response from each student so that every student had an opportunity to use their voice.
And that would encourage them to later on raise their hand and feel more comfortable giving answers.
And that's culturally responsive teaching. It's not evil.
Right, but they just see cultural, the word, and they're like, fuck that, we can't have that, you know, that's...
Or emotional.
Or emotional, right.
Yep.
They're so scared of those words.
I know.
And this is, I think, too, we don't have teachers writing these laws. We don't have educators.
Exactly.
We have people who have no idea what happens in classrooms making these laws. Like, I'm not fit to make these laws.
Yeah, but even when we do, because an example of that would be Jacob Oliva, who is like the biggest, most disgusting traitor in the entire world. And he's not in Florida anymore, thank God. But, you know, he was my friend, and he worked in the schools, and he went on.
He was a superintendent here, right? He was
the superintendent. Before that, he was the principal. He was my principal when I worked at FPC, and he was he's a funny, charismatic, seemingly good person, and he climbed the ladder to work and ended up working for the Department of Education, and he's the one who signed the letter that said, social emotional learning cannot be in part of instruction for core subjects, because that's the rule that the Department of Education made based on like the legislation. Okay. So it's kind of complicated and hard to understand, but it's basically because of Ron DeSantis and Moms for Liberty, which is what we're going to talk about. They decided that when you're in math, you can only be learning math, and the teacher cannot be assessing your social emotional learning or, using strategies that might make it easier for you to learn math for whatever reason.
And meanwhile, our SAT scores are plummeting.
Yeah.
17 points we're down.
And our reading levels aren't improving either.
Yeah, no, nothing's getting better.
Nothing is getting better.
And how are they going to read if they don't have textbooks?
Yeah.
And no books in the library. It's a shit show.
Well, and that just goes back to my theory, which is they want to continue defunding public education so that the vote, and this is going to sound harsh, so forgive me, but so that voters aren't smart enough or don't have the critical thinking skills to vote them out of office. That's what they want to do.
Yeah.
And that's the conspiracy theory that we should all be talking about.
Yeah.
But that's not this episode. This episode is about Menage a Trois.
Yes. And Bridget Ziegler, who we're going to talk about right now.
She was the co-founder?
The co-founder of Moms for Liberty.
Like for the whole country, not just for Florida.
She started the movement.
The queen of the moms.
Yeah. She started it along with her two other friends, which I don't know their names. Not important because they're not about this story. But Bridget Ziegler took a big part in writing the Don't Say Gay law. She was very involved in this. And then her husband, Christian Ziegler, is the Florida GOP chair, which I'm not sure what that means.
All that means is that he's like the second most powerful Republican in the state.
Oh, okay. Well.
And I think I read somewhere that they're like friends on top of that, which, I get. They spend all their time, colluding to take over the state and then the country. So why wouldn't they be best friends?
With DeSantis?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, they're close. And so Bridget Ziegler founded Moms for Liberty, but she stepped down when she became the school board for the Sarasota County.
And was that like 2022 or recently?
Their movement started back in 2020. Okay. 2020, right? Right when the whole masking thing started, because that's where they first
all kinds of things started happening.
Yeah.
And here we are. almost 2024.
So they're caught up in quite the scandal right now.
Okay.
Here comes the Menage a Trois.
Okay, which is French for...
A threesome.
Okay. And also a very affordable wine.
Yes.
That you can get at your local grocery store.
$8.99.
We have it right here. We're not drinking it, though, because...
It's too early. Damn it.
It's 2:00 and our kids are going to get off the bus. Although I do have a nice necklace.
Yes.
On.
Why did you get this necklace?
Jennifer comes over with this bottle of red wine, and she's like, why are you wearing a red wine necklace? And the answer is not because I'm an alcoholic, but because
Her daughter thinks she is.
Basically, my kids know how much mom likes to have one glass of red wine every now and then. So, I just call it my daily dose of antioxidants.
And she doesn't think you're an alcoholic. I'm joking. Like that was a joke.
No, and they're just little kids, so they just are like, Mommy likes wine. Let's get her a necklace that's a red wine.
But when kids say, like, yeah, my mom drinks wine all the time.
And draw pictures of it. It's
right.
like, draw a picture of your mom. And it's like a giant red wine glass.
Filled to the top.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But anyway, she got it for me for Mother's Day. And I hadn't been wearing it because I didn't want people to be like, wow, Courtney really makes wine her personality.
Right.
And so I hadn't worn it. And she's like, Mom, I noticed you haven't been wearing your necklace. And I'm like, oh, no.
Right. Now you have to.
So I put it on. And I'm the kind of person that when you put on a necklace, like, you forget that it's on. And so I've been wearing it for like 3 months now.
It's really cute, though.
Yeah, it is cute. I like it. And I've been getting some positive
feedback. And it's a
feedback.
small wine glass. It's not very big. So, you just take a sip.
Yeah. And the feedback I've been getting on this necklace has been overall positive.
Yeah.
So I'm going to keep it on.
Yeah.
I like it.
It's
nice
really
and
cute.
Tiny.
She picked out a good one.
Yeah. And you know what? We're not against Menage a Trois. We're not against drinking red wine. We love those things.
Yes. Do what you want to do as long as it's consensual. Mm-hmm. And everyone's an adult.
Yeah.
Have fun. Do whatever you want.
Yeah.
The problem here is...
There are many problems.
There are many. And I do want to give a trigger warning here because this is going to discuss some sexual assault. Mm-hmm. They're involved in a throuple. They've been having...
Is it throuple or
throuple?
I call it throuple because it rhymes with couple.
Yes, a throuple.
Okay.
A throuple.
Which is a 3-way relationship.
Right.
So
they have a sexual encounter with another woman. It's been going on for a while now. And
seemingly consensual.
Yes.
Which I can't believe that hasn't come out. That didn't come out earlier.
Well, they like to keep their secrets.
They did a good job keeping this a secret.
Yeah.
Because it's very hypocritical.
Now, right. And this is where the problem comes in.
Because we're not against thruples.
Right. Do what you want to do. But you can't sit here while you bang another woman and then ban books about lesbians, gays, trans people.
Yeah.
When you're involved with another woman.
And not only that, one of these laws, I don't remember, I can't keep up. I think it's the Don't Say Gay law, says that students should only be taught that heterosexuals get married to one another.
Yes.
And
that's in the Don't Say Gay bill.
It says teach students not to have sex until they are in a heterosexual monogamous.
Yes.
Those are the words that are used.
Yes.
And who is second in command in the state right now?
Christian Ziegler.
Who's in a throuple. And it's like, it's not even
with the lady who wrote that bill.
Yes, with the lady who guys, it doesn't get any crazier than this, does it?
Well, it does get crazier.
Oh, no.
So here comes, they had a hookup meeting, I guess, set, a date.
And this is an unnamed survivor of sexual assault who has our full support and honestly respect for being so brave and coming forward.
Yes, because these are high-level people, so it's not easy to come out against high-level people.
Exactly. And eventually I think her identity might have to be revealed, and maybe it already has been, and we just kind of
I'm not interested in finding out who she is because I know that it happened. So let me explain what happened.
Sure.
They were supposed to meet up for a hookup or a date, whatever you want to call it. Bridget couldn't be there.
So all 3 of them were supposed to.
All 3 of them.
Okay.
So they canceled. So she's thinking no date today. She goes to take her dog on a walk, and outside of her apartment is Christian Ziegler.
Uh-oh.
And he's hammered.
Oh, no.
And I don't know if she lets him in at that point, friendly-ish, but he ends up violating her.
Oh.
And so She didn't come forward that night. The next day, there was a call to the police. I think she spoke to like a friend, and that friend called the police.
Very typical.
Yes.
Of sexual assault and experiences.
Yeah, and so again, this is not about that part. We hope that she gets justice. We hope she gets the mental assistance that she needs to get through this, because I can't imagine this is an easy situation for her. This is what we want to focus on, is the hypocrisy of the group.
And before we do get to that, I just want to say, it is so important to give visibility to sexual assault survivors who have been assaulted by a partner, because a lot of times their stories tend to get erased or minimized or whatever because it was one of their partners.
Right. It was consensual at one point.
Yeah.
And so somehow people think, well, you guys did it, so
Yeah, but that doesn't mean it's not sexual assault.
Right.
And that's one of the many narratives that needs to change before, as a society, we can really combat this sexual assault, and provide the assistance and the support to these survivors that they need. But yeah, so we did just want to kind of throw that out there before we talked about, the problem that we, as a podcast about liberty and censorship, have with this just ultimate hypocrisy that we're starting to see.
Yeah, because they have consistently gone after books that have minorities in it and the LGBTQ.
Alphabet Mafia.
LGBTQ. Hold on. LGBTQ community.
I'm not editing that out of the
damn it, come on. It's a tongue twister, okay? I'm sorry.
It's okay. You're not the only one.
But yeah, so consistently target these books. And they always talk about it, they're groomers, they're pedophiles, they're trying to indoctrinate your children. The narrative is always very negative about these books.
And they're masquerading, like you said, as these protectors, joyful warriors,
right?
Whatever, that are trying to protect their kids. Meanwhile, Christian Ziegler is a rapist.
Yeah. And of course, Moms for Liberty came out at first, and they were backing Bridget Ziegler, right? Because they always play victim. Moms for Liberty, the organization, always a victim. Mm-hmm. If they quote Hitler, you misunderstood what we were trying to say. You're just trying to attack us. If one of our women, joyful warriors, gets caught doing something bad, it's just an attack. It's a lie.
You just want to take wasn't there a tweet about it? Like, you just want to, destroy another powerful woman or something.
Yes.
Like, no, that's not what we're trying to do.
So on November 30th, Moms for Liberty tweeted out, "Yet another attempt today to ruin the reputation of a strong woman fighting for America. Hashtag strong women scare those that seek to destroy our country. We stand with Bridget Ziegler and every other badass woman fighting for kids and America. Let's make strong women trend."
So they wanted that hashtag strong women to trend.
Yes.
Oh my God. And then didn't they delete the tweet immediately?
Yes.
Oh, that didn't work.
So that did not last even a day because
they're not strong women.
No. And then the whole thing, I think their dumbasses believed that Bridget wasn't involved in a throuple.
Oh my gosh. And then they were probably, so their dumbasses were like, wait, there's some truth to this. We better delete that tweet.
Delete it really quick. And now they've also updated. It was co-founded by 3 women, right? Bridget Ziegler being one of them. Now they've updated, again, they're trying to change history. And it's
2 women.
2 women now.
You can't just...
Bridget Ziegler is just being erased. She didn't exist. She was never part of this organization. Yeah. We know nothing about her.
She couldn't be a part of Bridget an organization that values, heterosexual monogamous relationships, because that would be too hypocritical.
Right.
Or a part of an organization that, includes badass women fighting for kids in America, but also quoting Hitler and associating with, neo-Nazis. Like, how are you going to fight for kids and America and quote Hitler?
Right.
At the same time.
And let's also point out that they were quick to drop Bridget for her sexual lifestyle.
But they backpedaled on Hitler.
Yeah.
They weren't quick to drop Hitler. They still talk about Hitler.
They still talk about it. And they even gave one of the ladies that quoted him, an award.
Yeah.
So that should tell you a lot.
Hitler, but they
draw the line at threesomes.
I'm sorry. You gotta laugh. Like, what else are you gonna do?
And let's be honest, they draw the line at people finding out
About threesomes.
that they have threesomes.
Yes.
Because as we know, they don't mind doing all these activities.
Right.
They just don't want anyone else to know about it.
Exactly. Ugh. That's so frustrating. So tell me about Ziegler. Like, didn't he step down too? Or no, he's like being called to step down.
They are, the GOP is like turning their back on him. They're calling for him to get down because obviously it doesn't look good for them.
No. This has got to be like the final, nail in the coffin for DeSantis's presidential campaign.
Oh, yeah. I don't know how he's still like...
Oh, he's in denial. There's no way in hell that he is a viable candidate anymore.
No
way. He's a laughingstock now.
I mean, he went on a debate with the governor of California, right? Newsom.
Oh,
He's not running for anything. Newsom is not running for president. Why are you debating someone who's not a presidential candidate?
I'll tell you why. He's desperate. And he's just like Moms for Liberty. All they care about is power and fame. They don't actually care about, improving things for kids or society or whoever. Like, all they care about is being famous and powerful.
Right. And these, like, again, they're worrying about the wrong things. Mm-hmm. They have us involved in this, like, culture war. And, we can't talk about CRT. Mm-hmm. And the gays are trying to indoctrinate our children.
But this is all.
But that's not what's happening.
These are smoke and mirror tactics to like try and get us to stop talking about things like getting abortion on the ballot, which is so close to being got on the ballot. If we can just get abortion on the ballot here in Florida, then
we did, didn't we?
Not yet.
Not yet? I thought we did.
Oh shit! We should pause and find out.
Yeah.
So it's not yet. According to this article that was posted 6 days ago. The signatures are up to 621,000, and by February 1st, we need 891,000.
Okay, so if you haven't signed this petition yet, get on it.
And I did it a long time ago.
Oh, no. Well, yes.
No,
I meant listeners.
I was so excited to hear this because I did it as soon as
we did it together.
Yeah, we did it.
Right?
That's right.
Okay.
Flagler is one of the counties that is actually, the Democratic Women's Club here is doing just remarkable things with this. And they're actually teaming up with the Democratic Executive Committee.
Yeah.
To get like as many people in our county to sign as possible. And, it's a really organized effort. So we'll post a link in our show notes.
Yes.
So that you guys can figure out how to sign if you haven't already, because the deadline is February 1st. And if, we get the signatures we need, then it goes on the 2024 ballot.
Yes.
And according to the polls, an overwhelming percent of Floridians want abortion.
Yeah, this
access.
is not a
bipartisan, yeah.
It is a bipartisan issue, right?
Yeah, it is a partisan. I don't know. Whatever. You get it.
Both parties want it.
We all want it.
Yeah, everyone wants it.
Even the NPAs want it. Even the Green Party. Even Ralph Nader with the Green Party.
Yeah, everybody wants it. We want it, freedom. That is actual freedom, deciding what to do with our own bodies.
Exactly. Yeah. Why did we even bring that up? What were we talking about? Oh, because it was smoke and mirrors.
Yes.
So it's like these are all just tactics to sort of distract us from like the real issues. Books were not an issue. Pronouns were not an issue. Whatever bathroom you fucking want to use, those are not issues.
No.
The issues here are, reproductive health and awareness and education to, prevent teenage pregnancies. And also minimum wage. That's a fucking issue that we have to talk about.
Yes.
Inflation. These are all the real issues that we need to be talking about.
Our homeowners insurance.
Yes.
Like, people are going to start losing their homes because they can't pay their homeowners insurance.
I'm like so scared to call my company and ask what it is because I've been living in denial.
Me too. I don't want to know.
I don't know how much it is right now, and I don't want to know. I'm just really scared.
It's scary. Yeah. And we don't have many options now because they're fleeing from Florida.
That's right. Yeah.
So they're dropping people, and then we're screwed.
Yeah, Florida's turning into sort of like it's interesting because for a while there, everyone was flocking to Florida.
Yes.
And now, that you had all these extremists and conservatives coming to Florida, now you have this teachers fleeing the profession of education, and all that's going to be left are terrible public schools with terrible SAT scores, terrible reading levels. Like, do you remember the rat that bit the kid at
yes, yeah.
Did we talk about that?
We might have mentioned it at the last one. I don't remember.
One of the middle school kids here in Flagler got bit by a rat, which is a whole separate story.
And not in the classroom. It was like this school has a barn.
Oh, yeah.
It's a really cool experience. Yeah. The kids love this program.
It was an accident. It was like an agricultural experience.
Yes.
And, rats are a part of the agricultural experience. So this guy accidentally got bit by a rat, but that's not the story. The story is when he wrote his statement, it was like illegible.
Yes, it was really sad.
Yeah, you couldn't read. He didn't spell anything the right way. His name has been redacted from the report. Thank God.
Right, we don't know who the child is.
Yeah, and that's how it should be. But the school board members here were so pissed off that even leaked because they didn't want them to look bad, because it looks bad that our reading levels and our writing levels are so atrocious. But really, we should be looking at this as an opportunity to focus our efforts on improving these things, and taking books out of the library and spending time adopting textbooks that don't talk about social emotional learning strategies is not going to help kids like that become a better reader and writer.
No.
And that's all we have for you today. No, I'm just kidding. But really, that's it for textbooks. I promise I won't say anything else.
Well, but it's relevant. It all goes back. Like
Moms for Liberty.
Yes. They are ruining our schools. And they're putting laws in place that just hinder teachers. It's making them leave.
And I do want to say, I want to give some credit to good old Ronnie Boy, because, he is really the one putting these rules into place, but he couldn't do it without Moms for Liberty.
Right.
He couldn't do it without the supposed support of Moms for Liberty, or parents, I should say, right? Because like his whole shtick at the beginning of this was he wanted to give rights back to the parents.
Right.
And that's not what he's doing at all. If anything, he's neglecting the reading and the writing. And as parents, don't you, we all want our kids to be good readers and writers,
And you see parents complaining now, which again, this is why a lot of Moms for Liberty school board candidates lost big this time.
Oh, that's right.
Because people are starting to realize that these people are not coming in to do good.
They're looking at Florida. They're like, let's not do what Florida did.
Yeah. There was a lady at at our school board meeting who showed up and just reamed the fuck.
Oh, that's right.
Out of the school board.
Yeah.
And then I talked to her after, and she said she voted for them. Oh. So she voted for our two Mom for Liberty people.
That's right. And when you told me about that, I was equal parts excited, but also confused as to how someone could vote for them in the first place, but also happy that they're starting to come around and realize, oh wait, this is not what I wanted.
Yeah. I think they're because I think at first they're like, yeah, no, I don't want sexually explicit books in our school. Yeah, I don't want things like that.
They were lied to. Let's go back to the commercial that was aired that probably cost $20,000 to air, about Courtney Vandebunty, former educator, who wants to literally, this is what the commercial said, put porn in the hands of kindergartners. That aired on television.
That shit pisses me off.
Yeah,
still.
and I did look into litigation, and there's no way that I would win any sort of lawsuit for defamation or whatever, because of just the way laws are written, unfortunately. And I don't really care, but what really pisses me off is that so many people were duped in that election into thinking that would actually happen.
Right.
There's no way.
It's all this fear mongering that they did, and it was a good strategy for them. I guess it worked.
I mean, you wouldn't think it was a good strategy, because you wouldn't think that people could be so gullible.
Right.
And that's my nice way of saying
it. I know
but people are waking up.
They're noticing, yeah. So this lady, I mean, she went in hard on them.
Because that is good news.
So I was like, okay, well, she voted for them, but now she realizes it's a mistake. So hopefully next election, we'll vote better. We'll make better choices.
Yeah, and we have been seeing that in other states across the country. And, we do know that the information that we provide in this podcast can be depressing. But, information is power, right?
Yes.
And like Jennifer said earlier, hopefully it'll encourage you or inspire you to fight against the craziness. But we do have some good news stories that we're going to share with you. I listen to a lot of podcasts, and one of my favorite ones, My Favorite Murder, they do this thing called fucking hoorays at the end of their stories, because sometimes their stories can also be depressing, but then they have these fucking hoorays where they read these happy news stories. So we're gonna try something similar. And what are we gonna call it?
We're gonna call it our 5-star stories.
Nice,
because
5
books,
stars.
Yeah, we review books with 5 stars if it's really great, and that's what these stories are.
They're not 1-star stories.
No, that's what we gave you earlier.
Yeah. We already did that. So here's some 5-star stories. What's the first one?
Okay, up first we have We have this school board member out of Pennsylvania. Her name is Karen Smith.
A good Karen.
A good Karen. We love this Karen.
Love it when we can find good Karens.
When she was sworn in on a stack of banned books.
I love that. That is just so awesome.
And then I think one of the first things she did at the first meeting that they had, because they overturned the board.
All these like discriminatory policies that were exclusive.
Yes.
Okay.
And so they were able to table those because, and they said so, it doesn't help the students in any way. It's not improving their lives and
Or learning.
Yes.
It had no academic growth to it.
And so they voted, I think it was 6-3. Yep.
Yeah.
And then the whole
there's so much clapping. The applause. So we're gonna put that as our 5-star story number 1 in our show notes so that you can see the TikTok video.
Yes.
It gave me the chills.
It did too. That was my literal comment. I got chills.
It was awesome. Those are the things that we have to remember when we feel like giving up.
Yes.
Because, we're winning slowly but surely.
People are waking up. We're seeing, they have a thing against people being woke, and this is why.
Yes.
Because when we're woke and we wake up, shit gets done. Pink was the next one.
Oh yeah, Pink. She what did she do? She handed out 2,000 copies of banned books on her Florida tour, which I just thought was like so awesome because it was in Florida.
I love Pink. Yeah. I've always loved her. I remember being like 19, 20 when she first came out. And I was like, she's so badass. She just said whatever she wanted to. Yeah. She was strong. She was fit.
And she likes the color pink.
Yes.
Which I was a younger teenager when she came out, and I was like, ew, why is she called Pink? Because, I was like in my anti-pink stage. And then I was like, oh, I get it. She's like taking back pink. Like pink can be badass. So it doesn't have to be like this like proper, like quiet, meek girl color. It can be a badass color too.
And what better way to give like a fuck you to Florida than by giving out banned books?
2,000 copies. That's 2,000, a lot. Yeah. I wish I knew which books. I'd have to look that up.
Yeah.
But that'll be in our show notes too. And don't we have one more?
And I actually have 2 more.
Oh, okay.
So the next one is the governor from Illinois, Pritzker is his name. Sorry if I said that wrong. He is expanding the Dolly Parton's Imagination Library statewide. He is big. He actually has a law out protecting books from being banned.
That's right.
Yeah.
He's not the first. There's a few that have done that. Not a lot. But I love that. And I love Dolly Parton's Imagination Library. And I love Dolly Parton.
I adore her.
Anything she does.
I'm not a big country music art fan, but she's like one of the ones that I love her.
You know what movie you should watch?
9 to 5?
No, that o's good. But no, it's called The Smoky Mountain Christmas.
Oh, okay.
With Dolly Parton. And it's a Christmas movie. And I'm going to make my kids watch it. They're going to hate me. But but it's like this like sweet, Chris, and she's the star, so like how can you know that?
I love her.
A Smoky Mountain Christmas, I think is what it's called.
Speaking on laws, right? Out of Florida, this is a good one for Florida. Congressman Maxwell Frost. He introduced a law in Florida regarding book bans. So on yesterday, he posted, book bans in Florida and in states across the nation are a direct attack on our freedoms and liberties everywhere. Today, alongside Representative Wilson and Representative Raskin, I introduced the Fight Book Bans Act, which would provide school districts federal funding to oppose challenges to educational and library materials. Together, we're taking a stand against censorship to protect the history and truth of our Black, Brown, Hispanic, and LGBTQ plus communities.
Oh, I have so many goosebumps right now. What is his name?
Congressman Maxwell Frost.
Oh.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, he posted it on December 5th.
Oh.
So that
was like 2 days ago?
2 days ago, yeah.
Wow. Okay, we'll post that in our show notes. See, I love the 5-star stories.
Yes.
That's great. We're going to try and do this every episode now. Speaking of which, our next episode is going to cover The Color Purple.
Yes.
Which is going to be a major motion picture.
Which we have to make plans to go see.
I know. Well, you know what? I'll have to see if I can get away from my family on Christmas.
Well, maybe not Christmas Day. Yeah.
No, because I go to Michigan the day after. So. And I don't want to make you wait to watch it. Right. So either way, the movie comes out Christmas Day. and I'm really excited about it. I read the book a long time ago.
Yeah.
I have to reread it.
I haven't read the book. I did see like the original movie.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I haven't seen the original
but that was
movie.
a long time ago. Like I don't remember.
Okay.
I was young. But yeah, so that's coming up next. It's The Color Purple by Alice Walker.
We're excited about that.
And that has been heavily banned as well.
Yeah, that's like right up there with Toni Morrison's books, which we're gonna cover Toni Morrison
Yes.
too. We'll do The Bluest Eye. That's my favorite. But yeah, these are some really important books that are beautifully written that we need to give a lot of visibility to. So yeah, I don't know. I think that's it, right? Do we have anything else?
I think that's it. So remember, don't ban books.
Ban bigots.
This episode has been engineered and mixed by your hosts, Jennifer Mendoza and Courtney Green.
Be sure to follow our show on Twitter at Moms for Book Lib and Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Moms for Book Liberty with the number 4.
And leave us a review on Amazon Music or Apple Podcasts, or you can rate us wherever you listen to podcasts.